voices for the reappearance of our awaited Imam, Imam al-Mahdi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another night of Mecca's Ashura program. My name is Maya Murtada. I'm going to be your MC for tonight. My condolences to you all and to Lady Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam and the family of the Imam on the passing of Imam and his companions. Today we are here to commemorate this tragic event. And I am so honored to be here to be speaking to you guys from Mecca in Canton, Michigan, which is the second Muharram ever here in Canton. A few announcements that I'd like to begin with are, the first would be that we are going to have the Maqtal on Friday, July 28th. We're going to start with the Arabic Maqtal at 11 a.m., concluding with, second will be the English Maqtal, and then we will conclude with Friday prayer. And then we will return for a 7 p.m. walk for our Imam, and then English Majlis at night. So please follow our social media and get on our WhatsApp group so you can stay up to date with the latest schedule. Another event coming up is our Poetry Slam, open mic for all ages. It's going to be Saturday at 6 p.m. You don't need to sign up for that. Just show up ready and prepared to recite. We can do any language, any type of presentation. We're also having a service day at the cemetery on August 5th. It's going to be a cleanup followed up by a majlis by Sayyid Saleh. There's a sign up for that. Please, again, follow us so you can stay up to date on those sign-ups. Our community is growing, our needs are growing, and your support and help is much needed. If you are willing to volunteer and assist, we are looking for people to join our projects groups. If you are interested in assisting in all the programs that Mecca is putting on, if you notice, all very family-oriented, very youth-oriented, celebrating, commemorating, all these events take a lot of time and dedication. So if you're interested in supporting us with your time, we would love to see you. Please see me or Haj Wissam or Hassan or any of the board members to be able to sign up for that. And last but not least, as I mentioned, our community is growing and our space is getting tighter and tighter. As you can see, we are at capacity at every night. Your support, your financial support is really needed in order for us to purchase this land. You can see the board over there with your way that you can support. We're looking for donors. This is your investment for your akhirah, for your family. This is going to be sadaqah jariyah. It's really important during these nights to reflect on how Mecca is making a difference for you and your family and to dig deep into your pockets and put that into action. I know it's hard. There's a lot of causes. There's a lot going on in the world, but we have to invest in our children. And so it's really important to make this a part of your causes because it is for your future. So I highly recommend you support us. Please see any of the board members to be able to donate as well. Without further ado, I would like to call Sayyid Saleh up to the podium for tonight with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه؟ بلى قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه. بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه. يسأل أيان يوم القيامة. For the love of Aba Abdullah al-Hussayn, صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us with defense mechanisms. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided us the means to defend ourselves. When we look at the body, we see that the body has ways to defend itself. Every person has been created with an immune system. This immune system, the job, the function of the immune system is that if there's a virus, if there's a bacteria, as soon as anything enters into the body, immediately the immune system kicks in and it kicks out and it fights anything that might enter into the body. This is one way to defend the body. Another, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed two filtration systems in the human body, your liver and your kidney, constantly working 24 hours a day, filtering and removing any toxins that may be in the body. Furthermore, we see the physical dimension of the human being, something very simple, something that we rarely thank Allah for or we take for granted, your eyelids and your eyelashes. The job of the eyelids and the eyelashes is to protect the eye. About 15 to 20 times a minute, you blink. And this is one of the blessings from God upon us. A blessing that we do not even think about. A blessing that we do not consider as one of the blessings of Allah. We take it for granted. This is when it comes to the physical body. Another defense mechanism that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us is the feeling of fear. Fear, we look at fear and we say fear is a bad trait to have. It's not good to be fearful, but sometimes fear is healthy. Sometimes fear is good for you. God has placed fear within every single one of us as a mechanism to protect ourselves. You have either the fight or the flight. And fear is the part that kicks in that helps you defend yourself. Every day we probably use fear to protect ourselves from catastrophes and calamities that might fall in our lives. When you're driving, when you are dealing with people, dealing with the government, whatever it may be, fear is a defense mechanism that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So these are mechanisms that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided for a healthy life. But then there's also a defense mechanism for the soul. When we talk about the human being, there are two dimensions to the human being. One dimension is the body, the appearance, and another dimension is the soul. The soul also needs to be protected. The soul also needs defense. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided us with the nafsul lawwama. And Allah talks about this in the Quran. لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. What is nafs al-lawama? Nafs al-lawama is the part of the soul that brings you back to God after feeling guilty, after committing a sin, after doing wrong, after falling in the haram. The nafs al-lawama is the self-reproaching soul. It's the part of me that gravitates me back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is the nafs al-lawama that is a defense mechanism from shaitan. It is a defense mechanism from our desires. It does not allow our desires, the nafs al-ammara, to control me. The nafs al-lawama is the self-reproaching soul. That is the part that stops me from transgressing. That is the part that stops me from falling in the haram. How does the nafs al-lawama work? The nafs al-lawama works the same way sensors work. Sensors. Right now, for example, your phone might have sensors. The ring on your doorbell might have sensors. There are many sensors, electronic sensors that we have around us. There's also spiritual sensors. When we sin, when we do something haram, when we do something wrong, this sensor, right away it tells me, red flag, something wrong has happened. You have done something haram, be careful, do not do this again. And this sensor, this is what brings me back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's a very healthy thing. It's something that we need. But the problem is, sometimes, just like electronic sensors sometimes fail to work, sometimes our spiritual sensors also fail to work. How? When we get desensitized to sinning. When we get desensitized to bad habits. One time the sensor worked, I ignore it. The second time it works, I ignore it, I ignore it, I ignore it. Eventually, sinning becomes something very normal. It becomes something that is habitual. And we do this with many things in life. Imagine there's something you're afraid of. You're afraid of heights. If you want to desensitize yourself and get yourself used to heights so that you don't have that fear of heights, what do you have to do? You have to keep pushing yourself. You push yourself, you push yourself, you push yourself until eventually you're not going to be afraid of heights anymore. You're desensitizing yourself to heights. Now this is a good thing sometimes, to desensitize ourselves, to remove the fear so that we could become stronger in some moments in our lives. But it's a problem when we are desensitized to sinning. It becomes a problem when we are desensitized to falling in the traps of shaitan. Then this nafs al-lawama does not work anymore. You fall in the haram, you keep falling in the haram, it doesn't work anymore. Then it's not a big deal anymore. Today there are some people, when they sin, when they break the boundaries of God, it's become so normal for them. It's not a big deal for them anymore. Why? Because they kept transgressing and transgressing until they came to the state that they are right now. And how do we desensitize ourselves? When we put ourselves in an environment, when we put ourselves in an atmosphere where it becomes okay to fall in the sin, where it becomes okay to do wrong, then it's not a big deal anymore. And there are studies about this, my dear brothers and sisters. In 1971, there was a study done by Stanford University. I'm sure many of you have probably heard about this study. The Stanford Prison Experiment. There was a psychologist by the name of Zimbardo, Professor Zimbardo. What he did, and this study became this is an example of an unethical study, and they don't do this anymore. It's illegal to carry out these type of studies anymore. But in 1971, this was done in Stanford University in California. What did they do? They put an ad in the paper. We want to recruit people in this experiment, and we'll pay you $20, $25 a day, and you come. People signed up, and they came not knowing what they're registering for, but they're signing up to be in an experiment. What is this experiment? This psychologist, he came and he developed a prison in the basement of Stanford University in the psychology department. A fake prison, of course, and he made half of the individuals, half of those people that came and volunteered, half of you are prison guards, and the other half, you're prisoners. And now, he told the prison guards, you have to take the role of a prison guard. And the prisoners, they have to take the role of a prisoner. In the beginning, everything was normal. Then, 1 day passes, 2 days pass, and the prison guards, who were just normal people, they're not real prison guards, they started becoming so abusive, and they started assaulting the prisoners. And the prisoners, they started becoming very submissive. And some of them would have mental breakdowns and anxiety attacks. This experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks. It only lasted 6 days. The administration of Stanford University came and said, this is wrong because of the pressure, because of the abuse that they are subjected to. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, this is an experiment that took place, but this is a reality of our life. If I put myself in an environment, if I put myself in a social society, in a place, and eventually, if the society is pushing me to do something, even if that thing is wrong in my mind, even if that thing is wrong, unethical, immoral, because of the pressures of society, we will fall in the wrong. And this is how we are slowly desensitized from the wrong, from abusive behavior. How do you think they torture people in some parts of the world? Because slowly they are desensitizing them to torture. They're desensitizing them. They're putting them in this atmosphere. They're telling them, you know what, you're a prison guard. This is what you have to do. This is the moral good. And eventually, these people, they start carrying out the worst crimes. This human being has the potential to be an angel, but also has the potential to be the devil. And has the potential to be so destructive. And this is how major crimes take place in the world. And this is how Imam al-Hussayn was killed on the day of Ashura. How? Because the people of Kufa, a group of people who knew very well who Imam al-Hussayn was. They know very well who Imam al-Hussayn was. They know Imam al-Hussayn is not doing anything wrong. They know Imam al-Hussayn is not stealing, not cheating, not abusing, has not killed, has not abused anyone. But because they placed themselves in that atmosphere, which allowed them to carry out the vices and go forward with the killing and the murder of the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How does this happen? You think it happened overnight, where these group of people, they become 30,000 and then they come and they kill. And not only do they kill, they crush the body of Imam al-Hussayn, they kill his children, they see him thirsty, they take the head and they parade the family of Imam al-Hussayn. These were crimes that even in the standards of that time, they were not normal. They were pushing it even in the standards of that time. But how did they reach that level? This is what we want to address tonight, my dear brothers and sisters. And the way they reach that level is because of the inner dispositions, things that they enjoyed in life, certain habits in life that allowed them to eventually come to the level and come to the point of killing the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Criminals don't become criminals overnight, my dear brothers and sisters. Criminals, they live their life in a way, or maybe something that happened in the past, maybe because of abuse, maybe because of some sort of trauma, because something that they put their life to, something that they were susceptible to, that leads them to become criminals. And this is why sometimes we do certain good things in life. Maybe you do a good thing right now because maybe a year ago, a day ago, maybe your mother prayed for you, whatever it is, because of something good, now you are doing something good now. And you might do something wrong, something horrible, because you have done something wrong. Now, a man comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and he tells him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, inni hurimtu salat al-layl. I don't feel that I can pray salat al-layl. I feel like this blessing has been taken away from me. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he answers him a shocking answer. He tells him, you are unable to perform Salat al-Layl because of the sins that you commit during the day. أنت رجل قد قيدتك ذنوبك. You are tied down by something that you did earlier, something that you did during the day. And this shows us that our life and the way that we live and the decisions that we make, sometimes there's a build-up to what we make. Right now, you are gathered here in the majlis of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, maybe because your mothers prayed for you. Maybe because you were raised with the love of Aba Abdullah. That's why you find yourself gathering here and commemorating Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, while there are millions of other people that right now they might be partying, or right now they're just not commemorating Imam al-Hussayn. Something good you must have done that brought you here. So this is a key in life. If we are doing something good, it might have been because of something that we had done earlier. And if we're doing something bad, it also has a reason. Now, what are the three main factors that determine our life choices? We make choices in life every day. Every day we are making decisions in life. We make hundreds and thousands of choices and decisions every week, every day, every month. What are the main factors that influence and impact the decisions that we make? And these, my dear brothers and sisters, they were the very factors that impacted the people of Kufa and brought them to kill Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. See, when we remember Karbala, when we remember Imam al-Hussayn, something I always like to do, and as you have noticed, every night we go back to Imam al-Hussayn. We keep comparing with Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. Because if we don't take lessons out of the tragedy of Karbala and what happened to Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, then that means we're not really achieving much other than the thawab and the blessing of crying for Imam al-Hussayn, which is holy and sacred in itself, but we have to take lessons. And the same reason Imam al-Hussayn was killed, the same vices, lifestyle choices that led and caused the murder of Imam al-Hussayn, today it is causing us to be far from God. It is causing us to not have a healthy relationship with our Lord. There's going to be three that I'm going to be mentioning. The first factor, my dear brothers and sisters, that led the people of Kufa to kill the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, knowing he has not done a crime, he has not committed anything, was the attachment to this dunya. Hubbud dunya. Hubbud dunya. Love for this dunya. It brought the worst out of people. And it brought them to kill the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. The hadith says, Hubbud dunya ra'su kulli khati'ah. The love and the attachment of this dunya, it is the cause of all of the sins. All of the sins that are committed. Think of yourself as well. Think of your life. whatever wrong we have done, whatever wrong that was done in the past, whatever wrong that was done by the army that killed Imam al-Hussein, starting from Yazid to the smallest person in the army. It was the attachment to this dunya. This is what leads people to do things that usually they would not do. Umar ibn Sa'd was the commander of the army that killed Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Umar ibn Sa'd is no stranger to Imam al-Hussein. Umar ibn Sa'd was not a man who did not know Imam al-Hussein. His father is Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas is considered to be one of the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. The conquest of Iraq and Persia was under Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He's the one who opened the conquest of Persia and Iraq. He was the leader of the army. But then you see his son becomes Umar ibn Sa'd, who kills Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Why? The reason was because of his attachment and his love to this dunya. He had a weakness, and this is a weakness that many of us have. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, he comes and he tells him, "Oh Umar ibn Sa'd, you want to be the governor of Ray? Ray is current day Tehran. You want to be the governor of Ray? If you want to be the governor of Ray, you have to go and lead this army that is killing Abu Abdullah al-Hussein." And Umar ibn Sa'd, he was facing a dilemma. And he starts writing this poetry with himself. He says, أَأَتْرُكُ مُلْكَ الرَّيِّ وَالرَّيُّ مُنْيَتِي أَمَرْجِعُ مَأْثُومٍ بِقَتْلِ حُسَيْنِ. He says, I have to leave Ray. But Ray is my dream. Ray is something that I've been working for my whole life. But then now they tell me, you have to kill Hussein. And then he comes and he says, you know what? They say there's heaven and there's hell. If they're right in what they say, I'll repent after 2 years after killing Hussein. This is why Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura, he told Umar ibn Sa'd, he told him, "Oh Umar, you're not going to enjoy this dunya. And let me tell you something that you're not going to like. I see the kids of Kufa, they're going to be pelting stones at your head while your head is on a lance." And this is exactly what happened. When Mukhtar came, Umar ibn Sa'd was killed, and the kids, they began to throw stones at the head of Umar ibn Sa'd. And Umar ibn Sa'd, he knew very well that Imam al-Hussein was 100% truthful. He turned his face when Imam al-Hussein tells him, and then he said, begin the war. He became angry at Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Instead of turning back, instead of repenting, instead of allowing the nafs al-lawama to kick in, but the nafs al-lawama was desensitized because of hubb dunya, because of the attachment to this dunya. And it wasn't only Umar ibn Sa'd. There was a whole army of 30,000 that were on the Umayyad payroll to come and kill Imam al-Hussein. One of them, Khawli or Khuwalla, this man, he is one of the criminals who participated in the murder of Imam al-Hussein. There are several individuals, they're named. One is Shimr ibn al-Jawshan, another is Sinan ibn Anas, another is this man, Khuwalla. As soon as Imam al-Hussein is killed, he takes the head of Imam al-Hussein and the head of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, and he rushes, he rides a fast horse, and he goes all the way to Kufa. When he goes to Kufa, there, he begins to say this poem, "Imla rikabi fiddatan aw dhahaba, inni qataltu as-sayyid al-muhajjaba, inni qataltu khayra an-nas umman wa aba." He says, fill my caravan with gold and silver because I killed the greatest and the most honorable Sayyid. I killed the man with the best and most noble father and mother. This is why when they killed Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura, read the Maqtal. We will read the Maqtal on Friday. When they killed Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura, what was the first thing the army began to do to the camp of Imam al-Hussein? They began to loot the camp of Imam al-Hussein. They began to loot the body of Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura, he goes and he asks for a different shirt. A shirt that they would not be interested in, because he says, "Ana maqtulun masloob." I'm going to be killed and my clothes are going to be ripped off my body. This is what they did to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. There were some people, it was the love for the dunya that led them to kill Imam al-Hussein. And there was another group of people who they did not want money from Bani Umayyah, but they were afraid that the money that they have worked their whole life for, it's going to be taken away from them. Bani Umayyah, they had two tactics. One group of people, they tell them, we're going to give you the carrot. We're going to come and give you money. Another group of people, they came and they told them, if you don't fight Hussein, if you don't join this army, we're going to take away your home from you. We're going to take away your houses and your money and your wealth from you. And this is why many people, they were facing a dilemma. One of them, by the name of Ubaydullah ibn al-Hurr al-Ju'fi. This man, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, is traveling from Mecca to Iraq, and he passes by a place by the name of Qasr Bani Muqatil. He passes by Qasr Bani Muqatil, and they see a tent, and they see a horseman, and they see a sword outside, meaning this is a tent of a fighter, of a brave warrior. He asks, who's in that tent? They tell him, Ubaydullah ibn al-Hurr al-Ju'fi. Now Imam al-Hussein, he knows everyone in Kufa, because just 20 years ago, when Amir al-Mu'mineen was in Kufa, Imam al-Hussein was living in that society. They all know him and he knows them very well. He goes and he sends one of his companions to Ubaydullah ibn al-Hurr, and he tells him, tell him to join us. The companion, the messenger, goes to Ubaydullah ibn al-Hurr al-Ju'fi, and Ubaydullah ibn al-Hurr al-Ju'fi, he says, no, Hussein is the very reason why I left Kufa. I left Kufa to avoid seeing Hussein, because Hussein is coming to Kufa and I know he doesn't have enough supporters. I know there's going to be bloodshed. I left. I don't want to jeopardize my family. I don't want to jeopardize my life. I have my work, I have my living, I have my children. I don't want to jeopardize that. So I left so that I don't have to answer to Bani Umayyah and I don't have to answer to Imam al-Hussein. The messenger goes back to Imam al-Hussein and he tells him, here, look at the humility of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Imam al-Hussein, the narration says, he got up and he began to walk to the tent of this man. Imam al-Hussein could have said, who cares? I don't need him. But Imam al-Hussein goes to him with his children and he tells him, oh Ubaydullah, don't you have so many sins on your shoulder? Don't you want tawbah? Don't you want repentance? Don't you want to turn to Allah? Come and join us. This is the ultimate victory that I'm promising you, I'm guaranteeing you. He tells him the same thing. He says, I left because of you. And you know what? Keep me out of this. I don't want to be involved in this. But you know what? I love you. You're a great man. I'm going to give you my horse. I have a horse that is very fast. I'll give it to you. Imam al-Hussein tells him, I didn't want your horse. I wanted you to be saved. I wanted you to join me. You think I care about the horse? Then he tells him, oh Ubaydullah, if you are not joining us, then be far away from us. Because in a few days, you're going to hear our cries. You're going to hear my call for help. And if someone hears our cries and our calls for help and does not join us, this person will be thrown on their face in the hellfire. And this is what he did. He left. And then they mention him as one of the first zuwar of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. One of the first visitors that came and visited the grave of Imam al-Hussein. And he lived his whole life with regret because he did not join Imam al-Hussein. What did he get? It was the love for this dunya that kept him from being with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. It stopped him from being with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, having dunya is not always a bad thing. Some people, they come and they assume that if you have dunya, then that means you're far from God. Not necessarily the case. A man by the name of Ibn Abi Ya'fur, he comes to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and he tells him, Inna nuhibbu dunya. We love this dunya. Then the Imam alayhi salam, he tells him, Tasna' biha madha. What do you do with this dunya that you want, that you love? He tells him, قلت أتزوج منها وأحج وأنفق على عيالي وأنيل إخواني وأتصدق. He says, I marry, I go to Hajj, I help my brothers, I give sadaqah, I give charity, I do good deeds with the money that I have. The Imam alayhi salam tells him, لَيْسَ هَذَا مِنَ الدُّنْيَا هَذَا مِنَ الْآخِرَةِ. This is not dunya, this is akhirah. So that means, no, you can have this dunya, but do not allow this dunya to come in between you and in between your akhirah. Do not allow this dunya, do not compromise the afterlife for the sake of this dunya. Otherwise, you want to have the dunya, have the dunya. There's nothing wrong with that. Second, my dear brothers and sisters, we mentioned 3 factors that impact us today. Today, some of us, because of dunya, because we want money or we're afraid we're going to lose the comfort of our life, we don't do things that God the Almighty expects from us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects from me salah. But sometimes maybe my boss has a meeting with me and my Lord has a meeting with me. A lot of us, we delay our prayer. We delay it until it might become late. Or maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is expecting charity from me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects me to have infaq, to give in the way of Allah. Religion is not only defined by prayer. Religion is defined by acts of charity, by giving in the way of Allah. But because of attachment to my wealth, attachment to my dunya, it becomes very hard to give in the way of Allah. So you see, there's a parallel between the love of dunya that was exhibited by the people of Kufa and the love of dunya that we have in our lives today. And it might be this love of dunya that stops us from meeting the Imam of our time as well. The second point, my dear brothers and sisters, we mentioned there's going to be 3. The first is attachment to dunya. The second reason that desensitized these people and brought them to carry out that huge crime of killing the grandson of the Prophet was the lack of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you live your life without God, when you do not have God in the equation, when God is not a part of your life, then you will find yourself falling in the greatest sins. Sins that might bring you far and far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that the reason for our existence is to be connected with Allah. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Verily the reason why I was created is so that I worship God. Someone might say, why would God create me so I worship Him? Does God need my prayer? Of course God does not need my prayer. I need my prayer. Because when I pray, I reach my highest potential. When I pray, I become my best self. When I pray, I become this human being who reaches the level of the angels. And this is what prayer does to you. Prayer purifies you. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. Prayer reminds you of God. أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. And when you remember God, then you're going to be purified. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa tells the Muslims, imagine if one of you have a stream of water in front of your house, and 5 times a day you go and you wash yourself in that stream. How clean are you going to be? They all tell him, we're going to be extremely clean. He tells them, this is exactly what salah does to the soul. Salah purifies the soul. But there are some people, they come and they say, no, I have God in my heart. I don't need to pray. How can you say such a thing? Do you say, I love my mom, but I don't need to call her? I don't need to talk to her? Sometimes days and weeks and months pass without talking to your mother. Is that a way of showing love? If you love someone, you have to communicate with them. You have to talk with them. And if we love God, if we want to have a healthy relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we must establish prayer. And we must remember Allah. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ ذِكْرًا كَثِيرًا وَسَبِّحُوهُ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا. Allah keeps reminding us, remember God. Remind yourself of God. Of course, not everyone who prays remembers God. Because on the day of Ashura, that army also prayed. But their prayer did not bring them close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It needs to be a prayer of humility, a prayer of khushu'. Allah says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. When you pray, you need to have the ingredient of khushu' in your prayer so that your prayer will have an impact on you. Without khushu', the prayer is just going to be motions moving up and down. So, this is why we must remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must have that remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't, then you will fall further and further away from God. On the day of Ashura, Imam al-Hussayn saw the army that is ready to kill him, and there was a conversation between him and Ali al-Akbar, his oldest son, who we are commemorating tonight. His son asked him, "Oh my dear father, how is it that all these people are gathered to kill us? What have we done wrong?" Imam al-Hussayn replied with the verse in the Quran, "Istahwadha alayhim ash-shaytan فَأَنْسَاهُمْ ذِكْرَ اللَّهِ." Shaitan has overtaken them and stopped them from remembering God. Stopped them from remembering salah and the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me ask you, my dear brothers and sisters, have we ever been in a state where we are having so much fun, we're having a blast, that what ended up happening? We ended up missing our salah. Was it worth it? This is what the Quran says. استحوذ عليهم الشيطان فأنساهم ذكر الله. Shaitan overcomes you. He makes you forget the time of salah. He makes you forget to have a healthy relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the one who does not have a relationship with God, this person, this is a promise by Allah, this person will not have a fun and enjoyable life and will not have a pleasant afterlife. Allah says in the Quran, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي, the one who refuses to remember Allah, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى قال رب لم حشرتني أعمى وقد كنت بصيرا قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها وكذلك اليوم تنسى. Allah says in the Quran, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي, the one who refuses to remember God. Now sometimes maybe you forgot and then you go and you start praying again. But there's another group of people who say, no, I don't need to pray. What does prayer do to me? They have a war against salah. This is i'rad. This is refusing to have a relationship with God. Willing to have a relationship with everyone out there. Willing to invest time and effort talking with everyone, but no time for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No time for my Creator. Allah says this type of person, فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ. This person, his ma'isha, his life will be dark. It will be deep. It will be in a hole. مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. On the day of judgment, this person will wake up from their grave blind. And they will say, Rabbi, لِمَا حَشَرْتَنِي أَعْمَى. Oh my Lord, why am I blind? I used to see in this dunya. Then Allah tells him, you saw all of our signs and you rejected them. Now you're going to be blind. There's a verse in the Quran, my dear brothers and sisters. This is why the worst catastrophe that could happen upon a person is if they're disconnected with their Lord. At whatever cost, do not disconnect with your Lord. Keep that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Keep remembering God. If you have not prayed, begin praying now. If you have missed prayers, make them up. Because prayer is your most important investment in this life. And let me do all of the good deeds. If I don't pray, then that means I don't have the foundations. Because inna salata amududdin. Prayer is the pillar and foundation of faith. Without the foundation, how is the building going to stand? So the people of Kufa, they were not connected with God because they were running after the dunya. They were attached to this dunya that it distracted them from having God in their life. And you know, this heart, it could only take in so much. Your heart is like a room. If I have old furniture in my room, am I able to bring in the new furniture in the room? No, I have to take out the old. I have to clean the room so that the new furniture goes in. If I want God to be in my heart, then that means I have to cleanse and purify my heart from all the vices of this dunya, the vices of not remembering God. And the third point, my dear brothers and sisters, the third reason, the third vice that leads us to fall in the haram, and it led the people of Kufa to kill the grandson of the Prophet, was a bad environment, bad friends. You put yourself in a bad environment, you put yourself in a toxic environment, you are going to be the product of that environment. Because how strong are we? We are susceptible to peer pressure. We are susceptible to influence from other people. If I put myself in a toxic environment, I'm going to feel the pain. I'm going to feel the impact of the toxic environment. If you go right now, you begin to walk in a dump where they throw their trash. Isn't there going to be some dirt, some filthy bacteria on your body? Yes, of course. That's why you go home and you take a shower. What about the bad friends? What about the bad friends that bring me away from God? What about the environment that I'm in every day, whether it's at work, whether it's at school, whether it's with friends, after school, in the neighborhood, wherever it may be? You have to make sure you surround yourself with decent people. You have to make sure you surround yourself with people that remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith says, Al-mar'u ala dini khalilih. You're following the religion of your friend. So make sure you're following the right person. Make sure you're friends with the right people. Make sure you're in the right group, the right circle. Just because they make me laugh, just because they might have money, just because they might seem cool, that's not going to be cool. That's not going to be good for me. Who said that that's good for me? We have to make sure that we put ourselves in the right environment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes a scene on the day of judgment. يَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ. On the day of judgment, the zalim, the oppressor, will bite on their hand as a sign of regret. And what will they say? يَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي اتَّخَذْتُ مَعَ الرَّسُولِ سَبِيلًا. I wish I had followed the way of the Rasul. يَا وَيْلَتِي لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أَتَّخِذْ فُلَانًا خَلِيلًا لَقَدْ أَضَلَّنِي عَنِ الذِّكْرِ بَعْدَ إِذْ جَاءَنِي وَكَانَ الشَّيْطَانُ لِلْإِنسَانِ خَذُولًا. The person will say, I wish I was not friends with such and such. I wish I was not friends with this person. How many times in our lives have we gotten in trouble? Have we done something wrong, something unethical because of bad friends? This is probably something that has happened to all of us, whether you're young or old. When we talk about friends, we're not just talking about the teenagers. Sometimes the adults also have bad friends. And the people will say, I wish I was not in that circle of friends. My dear brothers and sisters, surround yourself with the right people. Those people in Kufa who killed Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, there was a 20-year gap since the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. And the dynamics of Kufa had changed over that time. When Imam Ali was in Kufa, he established a community that was God conscious. But that community was fought against. The Shia of the Ahl al-Bayt were persecuted. Their homes were demolished. And a new community came out in Kufa. And that was the group of people that knew who the Ahl al-Bayt were. But they ended up killing Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. So my dear brothers and sisters, surround yourself with the right group of people. If you don't, then you're going to be impacted by the wrong community, by the wrong crowd, by the wrong group of people. The same way, this army that came out to fight Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, they were susceptible to the peer pressure. They were impacted by people around them. They became afraid to defend the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. These are the three vices. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us all. We ask Allah to strengthen us so that we will be able to endure, so that we will be able to deal with the challenges of the time. We said the love of the dunya, having the lack of remembrance of God, and the bad environment and the bad friends. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, tonight we remember Ali al-Akbar. Ali al-Akbar, he was the oldest son of Imam al-Hussayn. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The oldest son of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. And he had a very close relationship with Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. They say that on the eve of Ashura, Imam al-Hussayn told all of his companions, he told them, go. I don't need you. They're going to come and kill me. You can all go. I will stay with Ali al-Akbar. Ali al-Akbar was his oldest son. And this is why the loss of Ali al-Akbar was very heartbreaking for Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. They all witnessed Imam al-Hussayn break down in the middle of the battlefield emotionally when he lost Ali al-Akbar. It was very heartbreaking for Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. And Ali al-Akbar has a strong and great position in the eyes of the Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt. This is why Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he buried all of the companions in one grave, and he buried Ali al-Akbar by the feet of his father, Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. And the other Ali al-Asghar, was buried on the chest of Abu Abdullah. Ali al-Akbar, on the day of Ashura, after all of the companions had gone out and they were all killed, Ali al-Akbar, he's the oldest son. Everyone else from Bani Hashim, they're going to go, they're going to fight. So Ali al-Akbar, he comes to his father, Imam al-Hussayn, and he asks him for permission to go out in the battlefield. Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, they say, نظر إليه نظر آيس منه. He looked at him in a way where he's not going to see him again. He was hopeless in seeing his son alive anymore. But he cannot tell his son no. So Imam al-Hussayn, the way he gave permission was that he began to do dua for Ali al-Akbar. He began to say, Allahumma ashhad ala ha'ula'i al-qawm. فقد برز إليهم غلام أشبه الناس خلقا وخلقا ومنطقا برسولك وكنا إذا اشتقنا إلى وجه رسولك نظرنا إليه. Oh Allah, bear witness upon them that a young man who resembles Rasulullah in his figure, in his manners, in his speech, the most person that resembles Rasulullah has gone out to fight them. And when we miss Rasulullah, we would look at the face of Ali al-Akbar. And then he does dua for Ali al-Akbar and against the enemies. Allahumma famna'hum barakat al-ard وفرقهم تفريقا واجعلهم طرائق قددا فإنهم دعونا لينصرونا ثم غدوا علينا يحاربونا. Oh Allah, destroy them and divide them, for they have called us, they invited us to support us, but now they have turned against us. And then Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, he turned to Umar ibn Sa'd and he tells him, Ya ibn Sa'd, قطع الله رحمك كما قطعت رحمي ولم تحفظ قرابتي من رسول الله وسلط الله عليك من يذبحك في فراشك. Oh Umar ibn Sa'd, may Allah bereave you of His mercy the same way you have separated me from my attachment to my son who reminds me of Rasulullah. And may Allah send upon you someone who will behead you in your bed. And then Ali al-Akbar goes out in the battlefield carrying the sword, reminding them of the bravery of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he begins to say, أنا علي بن الحسين بن علي نحن وبيت الله أولى بالنبي تالله لا يحكم فينا ابن الدعي أضرب بالسيف أحامي عن أبي ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي. He begins to fight them very courageously, very bravely, reminding them of the bravery of Ali ibn Abi Talib. According to the Maqtal, Ali al-Akbar killed over 120 of them. And then Imam al-Hussayn was watching Ali al-Akbar. He was watching him fight. He has one eye on Ali al-Akbar, one eye in the camp trying to defend the family and the woman. He tells Layla, the mother of Ali, he tells her, "Oh Layla, enter into the tent and do dua for your son Ali, because I heard Rasulullah saying the dua of the mother for her son is accepted." Layla enters into the tent. Ilahi ya radda Yusuf ila Yaqub. Oh Allah, you are the one who sent back Yusuf to Yaqub. Send for me my son Ali back. There was a man by the name of Bakr ibn Ghanim. Ali al-Akbar killed him, and he comes back to the camp of Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam. He comes back to the camp and he tells his father, Imam al-Hussayn, "Oh my dear father, the thirst is killing me. The thirst and the heat is killing me." Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam, in the hadith it says that he showed him his own tongue and he showed him that he is also thirsty as well. And he tells him, "Oh my dear son, go back to the battlefield, for Rasulullah will be the first to quench your thirst in paradise." Ali al-Akbar was ready to go back. He goes back and enters into the battle. He begins to fight them courageously until one of the wicked men by the name of Murrah ibn Munqidh al-Abdi, he stabs Ali al-Akbar with a spear. It enters into his side. Then he strikes him with the sword on his head. Ali al-Akbar falls on the horse, and the horse begins to go towards the enemies. They begin to strike him from all corners. They begin to strike him from all sides. قطعوه إربا إربا. They cut him up into pieces. At that moment, Ali al-Akbar called out, "Alayka minni salam ya Aba Abdullah." "Oh my father, my farewell to you. This is my grandfather Rasulullah. He has given me a cup of water, and he says yours is also waiting." Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam rushes to Ali al-Akbar. They say that Imam al-Hussayn threw himself from the horse on the body of Ali al-Akbar, and he laid down next to him in the middle of the battlefield. The enemies, they look at Imam al-Hussayn. They don't know what's going on. They see Imam al-Hussayn is crying next to his son, and he says, "Ya waladi Ali, ala dunya ba'daka al-afa." This dunya is not worth living after you, O Ali. Imam al-Hussayn alayhi salam used to carry all of the shuhada back to the camp. He tried to carry the body of Ali al-Akbar, but his body was cut up into pieces. It was mutilated. He places a piece of cloth under the body of Ali al-Akbar. Then he calls Bani Hashim, "Ya Shubbana Bani Hashim, ihmilu akhakum Ali. Come and help me carry your brother Ali." They carry Ali al-Akbar back to the camp. The women, the children, they all come out crying. يا كوكبا ما كان أقصر عمره وكذا تكون كواكب الأسحار. جاورت أعدائي وجاور ربه، شتان بين جواره وجواري. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم، يا الله يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب، ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. تابع اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات، إنك مجيب الدعوات، إنك غافر الخطيئات، إنك على كل شيء قدير. Let us recite this verse 5 times. There are many people who have asked dua. Many people have hajat. On these nights we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. 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 أمن يجيب وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات, for the souls of all of the marhumin, all of those who have sponsored and supported these programs. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and accept all of your dua. For the souls of all of the mu'mineen, we ask you to recite Surah Al-Mubarakah Al-Fatiha. Brothers and sisters, there will be latmiya in several languages. So please wait and you will hear your language being recited inshallah as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And we ask you all to participate.
मेरा सहरियाँ वाला अकबर, मेरा सहरियाँ वाला अकबर, ज़ख्म दिल के दिखाऊं मैं कैसे, ज़ख्म दिल के दिखाऊं मैं कैसे, तेरा लाशा उठाऊं मैं कैसे अकबर, मेरा सहरियाँ वाला अकबर, अकबर मेरा सहरियाँ वाला, ज़ख्म दिल के दिखाऊं मैं कैसे, ज़ख्म दिल के दिखाऊं मैं कैसे, तेरा लाशा उठाऊं मैं कैसे अकबर, मेरा सहरियाँ वाला अकबर, अकबर मेरा सहरियाँ वाला अकबर। लाश अकबर पे शाह जब पहुँचे, दिल को हाथों से थाम कर बोले, तेरी फुरखत ने अली अकबर आग दिल में मेरे लगा दी है, आग दिल की बुझाऊं मैं कैसे, आग दिल की बुझाऊं मैं कैसे, तेरा लाशा उठाऊं मैं कैसे अकबर, मेरा सहरियाँ वाला अकबर, अकबर मेरा सहरियाँ वाला अकबर, अकबर मेरा सहरियाँ वाला अकबर। कड़ियल जवान है बेटा, बाप तेरा ज़ईफ़ है कितना, नूर आँखों से हो गया रुख़्सत मुझ मुझको आता नहीं नजर खैमा, लेके खैमों में जाऊं मैं कैसे, लेके खैमों में जाऊं मैं कैसे, तेरा लाशा उठाऊं मैं कैसे। अकबर मेरा शहरी वाला, अकबर अकबर मेरा शहर वाला, अकबर अकबर मेरा शहर वाला, अकबर जिसने 18 साल पाला था, कैसे देखेगी वो तेरा लाशा। तेरी शादी का था जिसे अरमां, कैसे झेलेगी वो तेरा सदमा। तेरी माँ को बताऊं मैं कैसे, तेरी माँ को बताऊं मैं कैसे, तेरा लाशा उठाऊं मैं कैसे। अकबर मेरा शहर वाला, अकबर अकबर मेरा शहर वाला, अकबर अकबर मेरा शहर वाला, अकबर। देख आया है कासिदे सुगरा, राह तकती है वो तेरी बहना। तुझको बीमार ने बुलाया है, वादा सुगरा का क्यों भुला डाला। गम ये दिल से लगाऊं मैं कैसे, गम ये दिल से लगाऊं मैं कैसे, तेरा लाशा उठाऊं मैं कैसे। अकबर मेरा शहरिया वाला, अकबर अकबर मेरा शहरिया वाला, अकबर अकबर मेरा शहरिया वाला, अकबर। लुत्फ जीने में अब कहाँ अकबर, दिल से उठती है ये फुगा अकबर। सुबह आशूर दी थी जो तूने, खून रुलाएगी वो अज़ा अकबर। तेरी सूरत भुलाऊं मैं कैसे, तेरी सूरत भुलाऊं मैं कैसे, तेरा लाशा उठाऊं मैं कैसे। अकबर मेरा शहर वाला, अकबर अकबर मेरा शहर वाला, अकबर।
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أويلاه يا كربلاء، أويلاه يا كربلاء، يا كربلاء، أويلاه يا كربلاء. انتي الخذيتي كلها لي، أويلاه يا كربلاء، وحدي بقيت بلا ولي، أويلاه يا كربلاء، واصرخ ونادي يا علي، أويلاه يا كربلاء، مو أنا كنت مدللة، أويلاه يا كربلاء، أويلاه يا كربلاء، أويلاه يا كربلاء، أويلاه يا كربلاء، أويلاه يا كربلاء. حرقوا علي خيمتي، أويلاه يا كرب، قدامي بس روس اخوتي، أويلاه يا كرب، بلا ستر نامت عيلتي، أويلاه يا كرب، ظلينا كلنا بالفلا، أويلاه يا كرب، أويلاه يا كربلاء، أويلاه يا كربلاء، أويلاه يا كربلاء، أويلاه يا كرب. عباس طاحت رايته، أويلاه يا كرب، قطعوا يمينه ويسرته، أويلاه يا كرب، بالعمد صابوا هامته، أويلاه يا كرب، ما يدري بيدي سلسلة، أويلاه يا كرب، أويلاه يا كربلاء أويلاه يا كربلاء أويلاه يا كربلاء أويلاه يا كربلاء وحسين عاري عثره أويلاه يا كربلاء بالسيف قطع ومنحره أويلاه يا كربلاء وأعظامه كلها مكسرة أويلاه يا كربلاء مطروح ما حد غسله أويلاه يا كربلاء 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 عبد الله صعب مصيبته أويلاه يا كربلاء بالسهم حزه ورقبته أويلاه ما شاف بعد دنيته أويلاه الله يلعن حرمله أويلاه يا كربلاء أويلاه يا كربلاء أويلاه يا كربلاء أويلاه يا كربلاء موتت علي كسر الظهر أويلاه يا كربلاء كم طبرة بالسيف انطبر جسمه على الغبرة وذر ما قدر عوده يحمله أويلاه يا كربلاء أويلاه يا كربلاء أويلاه يا كربلاء أويلاه يا كربلاء صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Muhammad Hayy. This is from Layla talking to her son Ali al-Akbar. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. إلى ما السفر يا نور البصر إلى ما السفر يا نور البصر يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر إلى ما السفر يا نور البصر إلى ما السفر يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر يا ثمار ضياء دربي ربيع قلبي ضياء دربي ربيع قلبي يا رأس مالي وكل كسبي يا رأس مالي وكل كسبي يا أفضل ما أعطاني ربي يا أفضل ما أعطاني ربي يا شبيه الرسول المطهر إلى ما السفر يا نور البصر إلى ما السفر يا ثمار عمري يا الأكبر حملتك يا نور عيوني في أحشايا وفوق متوني حملتك يا نور عيوني في أحشايا وفوق متوني لأجلك ما نامت عيوني لأجلك ما نامت عيوني فوق مهديك في الليل أسهر إلى ما السفر إلى ما السفر يا نور البصر يا ثمار يا ثمار كنت راعيك وأنغيك وسط الليالي عيني تبارك كنت أراعيك وأناغيك وسط الليالي عيني تبارك تبكي فأناديك ما الذي يبكيك تبكي فأناديك ما الذي يبكيك قلبي من دمعك قد تفطر إلى ما السفر إلى ما السفر يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر يا أكبر ظننتك أن تسند ظهري لو جل خطبي أو طال عمري ظننتك أن تسند ظهري لو جل خطبي أو طال عمري والآن يا ليت ينطوي ذكري والآن يا ليت ينطوي ذكري قبل يومك في الترب أغبار إلى ما السفر إلى ما السفر يا نور البصر يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر يا الأكبر ربيتك يا زهر فؤادي كنت رجائي عند رقادي ربيتك يا زهر فؤادي كنت رجائي عند رقادي واليوم ماضي إلى الأعادي واليوم ماض إلى الأعادي دمت لله والله أكبر إلى ما السفر إلى ما السفر يا نور البصر يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
رحم الله والديكم اللي يقدر يقوم على حيله وساعدوني بالجواب. ليلة نادي ومنين أجيب النوم أنا لعيني ليلة نادي ومنين أجيب النوم أنا لعيني ليلة نادي ومنين أجيب النوم أنا العين يا ليلي الناس لا تغمض العين تاهي الفكر وين راي يا ابني ريحت وين دقة ثقيلة لا ليلي الناس لا تغمض العين تاهي الفكر وين راي يا ابني ريحت وين وانا تعبت برباك تدري الربدين وافيني حق رباي يا ظن وتحسين يا ظنوة يا ظنوة حسين. ظليت انا بلا راي وعيوني ترفي، ظنوتي كانت بي يا وليدي، ظنوتي كانت بيك يا ثمر قلبي، يا وليدي من فارقاك تيهت دربي، وانا تعبت برباك يشهد لي ربي. ليلة ليلة تنادي، ليلة تنادي، ومنين اجيب النوم وانا العين، محتارة بأمري اليوم والدمع فجار، ما ينطف الدلال نيرانه تسعر، يا ابني الصخر لي بجاي حني وتفسر، ولا من جواب تريد لأمك يا الأكبر، لأمك يا الأكبر. ليلة ليلة تنادي، ومنين أجيب النوم وانا العين، لا تنسمعنا اخواي لا اسمع جواب، لا تنسمعنا اخواي لا اسمع جواب، لا تنطي ويا ليل اردحت بعتاب، اردحت بعتاب، ما ظلم علي مريت ليش البدر غاب، ولا من جوابي تريد لأمك يا الأكبر، ما ظلم علي مريت ليش البدر غاب، وحش السهر يا ليل بغياب الإحباب، لا تنسمعنا اخواي لا اسمع جواب، لا تنطي ويا ليل اردعت بعتاب، ما ظلم علي مريت ليش البدر غاب، وحش السهر بالليل بغياب الأحباب. ليلة تنادي، ليلة تنادي، ومنين اجيب النوم وانا العين، يا وليدي نايم وين دسمع عيونيني أمك ونادي عليك شو ما تجيني يا وليدي الحال بينك وبيني يا وليدي يا وليدي الحال بينك وبيني ما تحير وانخاك لا تخليني لا تخليني ليلة تنادي ليلة تنادي ومنين اجيب النوم وانا العين يا وليدي قلبي انصاب والدمع حمال جاري الزمان وياي وتغير الحال يا وليدي قلبي انصاب والدمع حمال جاري الزمان وياي وتغير الحال يا وليدي ما ادري شلون ضعني ترى الشال يا هو اللي يردنا اخوان والحمل لوم يا وليدي قلبي انصاب والدمع حمال لا جاري الزمان وياي وتغير الحال يا وليدي ما ادري شلون ضعني ترى شال يا هو اليد يا هو يردنا اخواي والحمل لو مال ليلة تنادي ليلة
गूंजी है करबला में अकबर तेरी अज़ान शबीर की निगाह में है अब धुआं धुआं करबला में अकबर तेरी अज़ान शबीर की निगाह में है अब धुआं धुआं गूंजी है करबला में अकबर तेरी अज़ान शबीर की निगाह में है अब दुआ दुआ गूंजी है करबला में अकबर तेरी अज़ान शबीर की निगाह में है अब धुआ धुआ सज धज के खैमगाह से निकला अली का चाँद सज धज के खैमगाह से निकला अली का चाँद लेने लगी बलाएं अकबर की बीबियां शबीर की निगाह में है अब दुआ दुआ गूंजी है करबला में अकबर तेरी अज़ान शबीर की निगाह में है अब धुआ धुआ बेटे को देख लेते थे नाना की याद पर बेटे को देख लेते थे नाना की याद पर अकबर चले जो रन को तो तड़पे शहे ज़मान शबीर की निगाह में है अब दुआ दुआ गूंजी है करबला में अकबर तेरी अज़ान शबीर की निगाह में है अब धुआ धुआ ज़ैनब खुदा के वास्ते लैला को थाम लो ज़ैनब खुदा के वास्ते लैला को थाम लो मख्तल से लेके आता हूँ अब लाशे जवान शबीर की निगाह में है अब दुआ दुआ गूंजी है करबला में अकबर तेरी अज़ान शबीर की निगाह में है अब धुआ धुआ क्या तुम छिपा रहे हो मेरी जान कुछ कहो क्या तुम छिपा रहे हो मेरी जान कुछ कहो क्यों इस तरह लगड़ते हो ऐ लाल एड़िया शबीर की निगाह में है अब दुआ दुआ गूंजी है करबला में अकबर तेरी अज़ान शबीर की निगाह में है अब धुआ धुआ सल्लु अला मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद
فلعمل صلى على محمد وآل محمد يا أيها الأكبر تسقى من الكوثر تسقى من الكوثر اذهب إلى الأكبر يا أيها الأكبر تسقى من الكوثر تسقى من الكوثر اذهب إلى الموت ما أقصر الأعمار ما أقصر الأعمار برز الأكبر للميدان في وجه بهي وهو يدعو الناس للميدان في قول جليل قائلا أنا علي بن الحسين بن علي ضاربا ضربا غلام هاشمي علوي واستقبل الميدان بقلبه العطشان بقلبه العطشان يستنزف الأخطار ما أقصر الأعمار ما أقصر الأعمار يا أيها الأكبر تسقى من الكون تسقى من ثار اذهب إلى الموت ما أقصر الأعمار ما أقصر نظر السبط إلى وجه علي بحناني ثم نادى ضع لسانك ولدي فوق لساني ستجد كيف أعاني ضعف ما أنت تعاني فكلانا عاطش يرتقب الموت ثواني غوثاه وغوثاه والمشتكى لله والمشتكى لله قد شاءت الأقدار ما أقصر الأعمار ما أقصر الأعمار يا أيها الأكبر تسقى من اذهب إلى الموت ما أقصر ليلة وادعي بنوح
الأكبر ليلة ودعي نوحي الأكبر ليلة ودعي بنوحي الأكبر ليلة ودعي نوحي الأكبر ليلة لو رايح يا ابني وضيعيني لو رايح يا ابني وضيعيني للموت وحدي مخليني فدوى طولك ريت سنيني فدوى طولك ريت سنيني يا يما ولا شوفه والدار ليلة تعيب نوحي الأكبر ليلة وادعي نوحي الأكبر ليلة وادعي ليلة وادعي آخر ليلة وياك الليلة باكر قلب أمك يا ويلة آخر ليلة وياك الليلة باكر قلب أمك يا ويلة بس المدمع تبقى تشيله من انظر لو ليدي مطبر ليلة وادعي ليلة وادعي بنوحي الأكبر ليلة بنوحي آخر ليلة أنظر بدرك أنظر طولك واشتم نحرك باكر خيلي دوسي بصدرك باكر خيلي دوسي بصدرك والظل عالترباني معفر آخر ليلة وباكر فرقه آخر ليلة وباكر فرقه باكر قلبي النار تحرقه وحسين الخيالة تسحقه عالغبر يظل دام المنحار ليلة وادعي نوحي الأكبر أكبر ليلة آخر ليلة وأنظر باكر من يطلع مصباحي العاشر آخر ليلة وأنظر باكر من يطلع مصباحي العاشر قلبي بلوعاته يظل حاير جمرات الفقدك تتوجر ليلة وادعي بنوح ليلة وادعي كبار ليلة وادعي باكر يا وليدي سروني للشام اعداك يودوني باكر يا وليدي يسروني للشام اعداك يودوني وانظر راسك ويفعوني وانظر راسك ويضعوني، قل لي شلون انظر له واصبر، ليلة وادعي نوحي الأكبر، ليلة وادعي بنوحي، ليلة وادعي بنوحي.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل.
طيب الله أنفاسكم. أحسنتم.